Welcome to the fourth video for this third chapter in our Unity project. And in this video, I promise we'll finally make the puff of smoke animation for when the blob is defeated. So we left off with the monster being able to get hit, and it had its hit flash and all that. So what we want to do now is actually get it to run out of hit points. And so I think it's set to 30 hit points and my sword deals 10. So it should eventually die in 3 hits. Wow, math is hard. So we're going to pull up the effects from the graphics, smokesheet.png. And I'm going to put it inside of, I guess, the effects folder. It's got those other random textures in there. It's fine. So I'm going to just take and drag and drop it in to effects, and boom. So Smokesheet got imported. It is on a scale of 258 pixels per unit, and it is it's a sheet, so we need to switch this to multiple, and all the rest is fine. We can leave it on bilinear filtering. So we click apply, then we click sprite editor. Sprite editor pops open, and we need to turn these into our animation frames. So we're going to slice it, grid by cell size, and like I said, it is 128 by 128. So we slice. You can barely see it, but you can see that it has actually sliced these up. And we click apply. And we close. So we've got some sprites here. And so let's start by making the object for this. We can just drag Smokesheet 0 into the hierarchy for it to create an object. And really there's not a whole lot that needs to go on with this object. Obviously it's hiding behind that camera there, which is fine. But we need to make it into an animation. So let's rename it from Smokesheet 0 to Smoke Puff. Better name. And let's go to our animation tool, and we're going to click to create an animation clip. In this clip, let's save animations. I'm going to create a new folder called effects. Unity gets mad for some reason. And then inside of effects, I'm going to call this Smoke Puff. And I'm going to drag select. I'm going to group select 9 through 0. And I'm going to drag and drop them into the timeline. Branch off this so I can watch how fast it is. Move my Smoke Puff over so I can watch it. And let's see, this is probably going to be way too fast. Yeah, that's not going to look good. So let's drop this down to 15 samples, push enter. And with all these different fields, I can hold down, I can multi-select like that. And then if I click and drag this, I could also make this longer. But I don't think overall I can, because I'll just lower the sample rate. And we'll just do it that way. So let's see what 15 looks like. 15 looks pretty good. I'll probably leave it at 15. So this animation is finished. We will be revisiting it to add a trigger to cause it to delete the object. So Smoke Puff, almost done. But let's add a script. And this script, let's go to put it inside of environment. Right click that. Create a C# script. And I'm going to call it effect cleanup. And we're going to double click it. So effect cleanup, we could eventually come back to this to put like a timer so it can delete after a certain amount of time. But we're going to have the animation deleted for us. So we'll have a public method here, public void, call it delete. And it's just going to call it destroy this.gameObject. Hit save. That's all it really needs. Like I said, we can come back and give it a timer later if we wanted to use this for other things that may need to disappear after X number of seconds. But right now we're just going to have the animation call this delete method. All right, so compile script. Drag and drop the effect cleanup onto Smoke Puff. So then select the Smoke Puff, and go to animation. We can see our timeline here. And then on the next tick right after the last frame, I want to add an animation event by right-clicking. And the event that I want is the delete event. And that's going to send the message to delete this when it finishes its animation. And so like if we hit play, we'll actually see it go away. So, and now if I hit pause, it's actually gone from the hierarchy. So it looks like it's working. I'm going to move it back to position 0, 0, 0. Nothing else really needs to change about it. It's pretty much done. So let's turn it into a prefab. And I see that I already have an effects folder for prefabs. So let's just put smoke puff inside of effects. And I'm going to delete the in-world game object of it, but I have my smoke puff prefab. So at this point, I just need to start building a check health method for my enemy. And then, so let's go pull up my enemy script. We are going to need to create a variable to store this effect. So we're going to create a public game object. I guess what do we want to call it? We can call it like death effect. And so we have our variable there. None of this really needs to be updated, but I do need to make a method for checking the health. So minimize hit flash, minimize stun. Let's just minimize hit too even. We'll put it right after update. And we'll call this protected void check health. And check health is going to check to see if my hit points are less than 0. So if health is less than or equal to 0, create the death effect. So we're going to instantiate that death effect object at transform.position and with a default rotation. So that's quaternion.identity. And then delete the enemy. So destroy this .game object. And so check health will remove the blob. Now, check health is kind of a delicate thing. We can't actually put it inside of update of enemy, because if I have any stuff going on after update, if it attempts to delete the enemy here, and I have code that references the enemy's position after it just got deleted, it will crash because it's no longer in the game world. So basically deleting the enemy needs to be the very last thing that happens in the sequence of doing stuff. So like you can't delete at the start of the update method and then do stuff. It literally has to be the last thing. But I can't put it at the end of this enemy update, because when enemy update ends, it's going to go through all the code for orange blob. So I could either call it inside of orange blob, or I could add in another one. Let's make another public virtual void method. This one's called late update. Late update is a built-in method. And that runs after all update methods have been called across the entire scene for that frame. So late update happens guaranteedly last in a frame. And we can call check health there. It's virtual, so that the orange blob could replace this if it really wants to. If it wants to handle checking the health in a different way, we can replace that. Maybe you have enemies that need to get knocked down, and then after a few seconds they stand back up like old school skeletons in, what was that, original Zelda? So maybe we want to override that with a different method. So that's why it's virtual, so that, again, flexibility to change it inside of our child classes. All right, so this looks like it should work. We do need to attach the effect, though. So let's return back to Unity. And let's go and make that the default. So if you have your enemy script selected, it actually will allow you to kind of specify a default thing here for some of these like prefab references. So I'm going to attach Smoke Puff here. Then you can see it's attached it there. We can always put it on Orange Blob. So put that there. And Orange Blob, unfortunately, I don't think they automatically load it. Yeah, it would attach in any future things that we attach the script to, but because we've already attached the script here, it's not going to update that. So we're going to have to still just drag and drop Smoke Puff onto the prefabs script for death effect. However, any future blobs we tag with that script will have it automatically loaded. All right. So it should now play that effect after it's been hit 3 times by my sword. So there's our first hit, second hit, and the third hit. So it just puffs and it's gone. And actually you can see that the blob and the effect is no longer in the hierarchy. So if I end play, the blob should show back up. And so we're not creating useless game objects that are sitting there that have nothing active. And so that appears to be working. The real question is, did I set the damage on all my different fireballs? Yes. So we have enemies that can be destroyed now. We're going to, in the future, we're going to add another enemy that has a death animation. And so some of that will be tweaked down the road. But for now, we've got a successful blob that can take damage, gets knocked back, and eventually will be defeated when it runs out of hit points. And so with that, we're going to end here. It's a little bit shorter of a video, which is fine. And then the next video, we're going to start, we're going to move some of the commands to the player so the player can start receiving damage. And then we're going to program the AI of the blob to attack the player. So that's what's coming up next. Thank you for watching.